Assalamu alaikum dear viewers. The game we wanna review today is a big game played between Anish Giri and Magnus Carlsen. Anish Giri previously beaten Magnus Carlsen exactly 12 years back on 17th of January in Tata Steel. And now after exact 12 years, in these 12 years, Anish Giri remained without a win against Magnus Carlsen, but now they are facing each other once again in Tata Steel Vacanze, and Anish Giri and Magnus are leading the tournament uh, before this game, and they are paired at round 4. And Anish with the white pieces played d4. The, I love this move when Anish played it against Magnus because Magnus is nowadays a player playing d4 in every important match, and uh, he's getting his Catalans, and he even played this opening regularly with Nipuniachi in the World Championship match. So he's challenging Magnus in his own territory. Magnus replied with knight f6. Anish played c4. Magnus played uh, e6. Although in the second round match, Magnus played Grunfeld with black pieces and won a brilliant game. But now he is not playing the Grunfeld. Instead, after the anti-Nimzo knight f3, Magnus opted for Queen Indian. Will you believe that? In the same tournament, Ding Lenen played Queen Indian and won a brilliant game. So today, Magnus opted for the Queen Indian, which is a opening which was very popular previously. Uh, and every now and then we were getting some games in the Queen Indian, but after the Alpha Zero 100 match uh, series with the Stockfish 8, where Alpha Zero won numerous games with uh, brilliant attacks against Queen Indian. So it is very nowadays grandmasters super GMs are uh, less likely to play this opening at the highest level. But anyhow, let's see what Magnus has in mind, because this opening is also one of the favorite opening of top second top player of Pakistan, Zoeb Gelani. So let's see. Anish Giri replied with G3 line. So this will be Queen Indian defense with Flancheto variation. So Magnus, there are two ways to play this opening. You can directly play bishop to b7, or you can first go to uh, a6 and then back to b7 after white somehow protect this pawn. Uh, White can protect the pawn with queen c2, can play b3, rarely can play queen a4 and knight bd2. So these are different options with whites. But Anish Giri played queen c2, and Magnus moved back to uh, b6, b7. Mm, Although, if you look carefully, uh, in these sort of Queen Indian structures, or against some Rigozin or Bogo Indians, white usually play the queen to c2. Then why to force this and go back to b7? It is a mysterious move, but Grandmaster plays so uh, they think that their point is that Queen at c2 is misplaced. But anyhow, Anish played bishop g2. Magnus replied with c5, the main line. And here, uh, one of the Topalov favorite is d5. D5 is a pawn sacrifice line, but white get a lot of activity with this pawn sacrifice. Uh, this line is a well-known line. We have many games in these lines, and even I remember one game between Topalov and Anand. While Magnus also played this line with white pieces against Anand. So it's not a hidden line. Kramnik played this line. Peter Liko played this line. So let's see. Anish opted for d5, which is a very aggressive and very, uh, you can say, very a line to be played for a win. So Magnus took the pawn and retake with the knight, and now Magnus is a pawn up, but his king is in center, and White has to play uh, precisely and activate his pieces. First, you have to castle and gets your king out of center, and after this move, bishop to e7. Um, Anish played rook to be a d1, pressurizing the knight, and after the knight c6 move, there are lines. One line is with queen a3, but the other line is with queen f5, and queen f5 is the move chosen by Anish Giri. Still, we have more than 200-300 games in this uh, uh, from this position. So nothing new for Magnus. And Magnus played knight f6, which is the computer first choice. And Anish replied with e4, which is against the first line move. Here again we have two lines. One line, the most popular line, is with g6, after which white will play queen to f4, and after castle and e5, knight will go to h5, and after queen c4, d5 takes, and after knight c3, white will black will develop both knights to the rims, but he's getting tempo on the queen and activating his dark square, light square and dark square bishop towards the white king and occupying an open file. So it's an equalish position, but that's how previously we had many games in this line. But what Magnus played is only played uh, a few times with d6, and Giri was not afraid to immediately go to e5, and we are still in theory. Topalov against Backrot played this position. There is a game of Judith Pulgar against Berev from the same position, and Magnus played queen to d7, and after takes and knight take and pawn take d6 and bishop to f6, we are still having 12 games from this position. So nothing new till now. They are following the popular theory, but let's see. The theory goes from here with the rook to e1 check, and after queen f8, uh, knight to c3, and I believe Magnus played the first choice of computer, knight to b6, and uh, Aguirre responded very uh, in keeping according to the spirit of this game, he played knight e5, a brilliant move, and Magnus has to parture with his light square bishop. And here Anish played rook to d1, and Magnus played knight to c5, c4, and Giri played pawn to d6. This pawn to d7 is becoming a very dangerous pawn. And here Magnus played knight to c2, and after rook to b1, he mysteriously played knight to d4. Why knight to d4? Why not knight to e5? And there is no way that white can save his d7 pawn. Uh, Although white is active, no, not from here, but here you can play knight to e4 and simply take the pawn. But Magnus played this mistake, and now white is suddenly better because after the rook b1 move, now white has this move b4, and your knight is loose, and you cannot take this pawn. But Magnus took it, and now it is completely lost because after bishop to d5, getting a tempo on c4 knight, which after moving the knight and exchange at c5, white has another brilliant move, bishop to a3, taking the c5 pawn. This knight is weak. This knight is weak. The bishop is targeting the king. So Magnus played king to e7, and after bishop takes, the white is simply a pawn up, and soon will be a piece up because everything is hanging in this position. Magnus tried knight to e6, but here the Anish simply moved the bishop to b4. Although a better move would have been knight to e4 because this knight is pinned, and the maximum white can do is this. But after this check, no, after this move, there is no easy place for you, and you cannot take the bishop because you will get mated uh, in directly with three moves. So, but Anish played a very human move, bishop to b4, and Magnus threw a5, which is a desperate move because he can simply take, and you are not in time to untangle your king and your pieces. And after knight c4, Anish simply played rook to c1 because your rook is pinned. You cannot take this bishop. And Magnus tried the the dark square bishop to e5 to go to d6, but the black pieces are very haphazard, and everything is pinned. Here Anish play another brilliant move, knight to c5, and after takes again you cannot move this knight because it is pinned with the rook. And when Magnus tried to double up, this move comes bishop to a5, and you have no square left in this file, so you have to leave the file, and it is completely winning for Anish Giri. So Magnus resigned on move number 35. Can you believe that? Magnus resigned The world champion of everything resigned against Anish Giri on move 35. Anish won second game in his life against Magnus Carlsen exactly 12 years after his first victory in uh, Tata Steel, and now it is the second victory, and now Anish is leading the tournament solely. I believe that Magnus will bounce back, but now the tournament is getting very much interesting, and let's see. And the form Anish is in, the game he played against Gukesh, sacrificing two rooks and winning the game, and now playing against Magnus with this perfect immortal game is amazing. So Anish will be is now the favorite to win this tournament. But let's see, can Magnus or Dingleren bounce back and take the leads? So please like and subscribe, and see you later.